So, good morning, everybody. For a morning walk, I'm gonna just wait for people to show up before we get started on the topic. As one thing, I was actually surprised how many people showed up yesterday morning. So we may have an audience, we may not. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? I need to grab a bag. I need to grab a bag. Let's see if we have bags. Oh shit, there are no bags in there. Wait, there's one. Goose, I'm gonna get this bag, girl. Catching this on replay. You have to fast forward. I'm just waiting for people to show up. Before we get started. I wonder when they're shutting the pool down. You know, it's another summer I've lived here and didn't go in the pool. Every summer I tell myself, yeah, I'll get in the pool this year. I never do. There was a time when I swam almost every day. I haven't swam in a long time. Been a long time since I've been in a pool. I'm an old man now. I do old man things. Right? I do old man things. You want to go that way? I don't know, girl. There was so many spider webs last time. I don't want to get caught with all them spider webs again. I do like going through that trail, though. Let's go this way. I don't want to get hit with all them spider webs again. All right, buddy. Good morning, everybody. Just waiting for some people to show up. Looks like we've got one person in the room before I get going. Yeah, kids are screaming over there, so Goose is like, I don't want to avoid that. I don't want to go through there, girl. We got covered in spider webs last time. Come on. This way. This way. I get it, though, girl. I like going through there, too, but I don't want. There's so many spider webs in there last time. I got spider web all over my face last time we went through there. Appreciate you joining, Jester. I'm not sure what you mean by the emojis, but are you in Europe? No, I'm in America. I'm near Chicago. Appreciate you joining. No, I'm near Chicago, Illinois. Are you in Europe? That'd be pretty crazy, though. If you're, how are you? It'd be pretty crazy, though, if you were in Europe. Interesting that, you know, the internet has made the world a small place. Ah, awesome. Where are you at in Europe? I don't recognize your handle, so welcome to the channel. It's your first time here. Oh, in the UK, okay. I see that there's a lot of shit going down there right now. A lot of protests and whatnot. Well, this is my dog, Grey Goose. So, if you're new to the channel, it's the first time maybe seeing my dog. This is my dog. Yeah, America is big. Big, and, you know, I've traveled a good amount of it, and a lot of it just looks the same, to be honest with you. Yeah, I see the videos of what's going on over there. I don't blame you guys, you know. The UK government just as bad as the American government. Appreciate that. I'm not really a fan of any government, to be honest with you, but the UK government is, yeah. Well, UK, Canadian, American, they're all terrible. Are they pretty wild over there right now? I would imagine. I've seen some crazy shit. I guess people are um, they're pulling out your country's flags, and people are getting upset about it. It's like doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then somebody actually made a pretty funny comment. They're like, yeah, you know, it's a protest in America if you don't see an American flag, and it's just a bunch of like activist identitarian politics flags, like trans flags or gay flags or pedo flags, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's pretty fucking true. Yeah, unfortunately. A lot of crazy motherfuckers in this state, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not a I keep up with politics, but I am an apolitical individual. I don't subscribe to either side. I say fuck them all. Personally. That's just me. Yeah, I just don't yeah, you too, man. Appreciate you joining. Thank you. Hope to see you again. Thanks for the chat, man. All the way from the UK. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, you don't like the kids, Goose. Come on, girl. Don't worry about the kids. Uh-oh, they see you. Come on. The kids have spotted you. You know they spot it when they say, puppy. But Goose is like, I don't want to get anywhere near that shit. Right? Hey, you too, Jester. Thank you. Hope to see you again, man. Take care. Here, you want to go down this way? Come on. We'll cut through. Wait for some people to join. Then we'll get started on the topic. Goose is. Oh, pick you up, girl. We're gonna jump. Oh. Okay, let's go. All right. Morning, everybody. Appreciate you joining. Just want to discuss. There's a question. The video I put out yesterday about Mark Dubos's dog, and what his dog was doing to discipline the other dog. There was a comment left by Allie and the Staffy. I think I'm sorry, man. I may have said your channel name incorrectly, but he was asking about bully breeds, and is it a good idea to have bully breeds discipline each other the way, say, you saw in the videos I showed yesterday when I shared the clip of Mark Dubos's dog disciplining the German Shepherd. So he was wondering is it a good idea to do this with bully breeds, because he had seen instances where, you know, usually they just fight. And so what I would say is the bully breeds, yes, there's a certain way to go about things with bully breeds. Now Goose is a bully. She's a micro-American bulldog, but she disciplines in the same way that Mark's dog did. She's very fair with her communication. So a lot of it is the dog in question. Is the dog capable of disciplining in a fair manner? Is the dog balanced? Does the dog have good social skills? But the most important part is Say I have one pit bull, and maybe that pit bull is prone to starting fights or aggressive behavior. Well, I'm not gonna put that dog in a position of trying to discipline other dogs because it's not ready to do that. Right? The dog hasn't, so to say, earned that position or earned the right to do that. Right? Because the dog is still taking things into their own hands and operating on their own initiative rather than understanding the lines that you have established. Like the dog should be operating under your authority. So now I would highly recommend to Ali or anybody who's curious about this, it's a good idea to have pit bulls, like bully breeds, discipline each other's, like the way that that was shown in the video I posted yesterday. Go to Brandon Foucher's channel and just watch, because he has many bully breeds, pit bulls in that facility, and the same thing takes place now. But Brandon has worked with each one of those dogs individually. But he is also, Brandon is very advanced in terms of, he knows what dogs to put with each other, what dogs are compatible, what dogs are not compatible. But the whole goal of putting groups of dogs together, the whole idea is that, say, if you have a new dog brought into that facility, Brandon will work with that dog for a period of time and then introduce it to the group. So if you have a well-balanced group of dogs, pits included, and you introduce this new unstable dog to the group, of course you take, safety measures are of course always necessary, muzzles, whatever. But the group of dogs will then aid you in your quest or your mission to balance this new dog out. So you already have to have a group of balanced dogs first. I don't care if they're pit bulls, bullies, whatever. And that balancing comes from the guidance, direction, discipline, whatever, from the human. And then you integrate them into the group to let the dogs do what the dogs do to finish the job and to do the things that the human's not capable of. To socialize that dog in a way only a dog can do. So if you say put two pit bulls together, maybe you've been working with one for a long time and you notice that maybe that one pit bull tries to discipline the other but it causes a fight, well, that's just a sign that they're not ready yet. Morning, OT. What's up, what's up, man? So if that's the case, now what I do, you have to be, I baby step things. You have to be very careful. When you're working with one bully breed, pit bull, what have you, the stronger breeds, and this is why, like Petunia the pit bull, for instance, I had, I like to test where the dog's at. So I set up situations that will show me how much progress has this dog made. Right? Because not every dog is going to be made for the role of being a disciplinary. You have dogs that are just naturally suited to that, and other dogs not so much. So you have to know the dog you're working with. But aside from that, if it is a pit bull, you have to really know that dog and put them in a variety of situations to know where the dog's head's at. And also, that dog has to have a clear understanding of the lines you have drawn, the boundaries you've established. That dog has to be under complete control of you before I would begin to allow that dog to start disciplining another dog, if it's cut out for that job. Like I discovered pretty quickly that Goose was cut out for that job. She's a bully. She's a very well social. I mean, her social skills are impeccable, and she's a very balanced dog. She's very calm. She's a very stable dog. When she disciplines another dog, she's extremely fair, and she only takes it to the level it needs to go, and then she leaves it at that. And that's how it should look. So if you have a dog that is routinely taking it too far, that's a dog that I would work with that dog more, and I would be very careful about which dogs I pair it up with. But there is a process where you can, if the dog is showing you signs that it's suited to be a disciplinarian, then you can build that dog into that, right? Like one of my favorite Brandon Fouché clips is he has because the dogs that come to Brandon are always, like Caesar would call red zone cases. I mean, they're serious cases, aggressive. They have bite histories, whether it be with humans or dogs, sometimes both. But he works with these dogs in a particular way. And when you go watch his videos, I mean, there are dozens of dogs with each other. And one of my favorite clips is where he's showing this older bully, I believe it's a pit bull, disciplining this younger pit bull. And this younger pit bull is a teenager, so he's got that teenage, foolishness about him. And so the teenager's just kind of, uppity, starting shit, a little too excitable, just being a little asshole, and the older dog, it's amazing what this older dog does. The older pit bull gets in his face and he stares him down, and then he starts showing his teeth, never bites the dog. And so the younger pit bull begins to submit to it, walks away, and then it re-engages with the older pit bull, and then the older pit bull snaps at him. And then he follows through on it. So the younger pit bull kind of runs away a little bit, but the older pit bull follows through on it, stays on him. Wanted to make sure that younger pit bull got the message, and he did. So that would be an example. What's up, Ryan? Thanks for joining. That's a great example of two pit bulls who are previous seriously aggressive cases being brought into a state of balance to where the stronger dog can discipline the younger one, and nothing comes of it. There's no one harmed. But listen, there's always the reality that there's always risk. When you take things to this level, there's always going to be some risk, right? I've watched so many Brandon Fouché videos where he talks about, he says like every morning he wakes up, he has a little talk with himself. Basically like, today could be the day. So he likes to make sure that he's just ready, because when you have that many dogs in close proximity with each other that have those previous issues, sometimes things happen, and that's the risk you take. But the flip side of that is he's also able to take dogs that people deem to be unhelpable, and he rehabilitates them. And so there's a certain magic to what he does, But I highly recommend going and if you're curious about this subject, go study his videos, go watch his videos. I can recommend several that I watch. I've watched many times, because I find them so fascinating. When you watch groups of dogs interact with each other, you can really learn a lot, and I never get tired of watching it. There's so many little details you can observe and get insight from, and that you can apply to your own situations. But what Brandon does is, I had talked in the video I posted yesterday, where it's you become a mediary. So I remember Brandon said in one of his videos where he's like, someone asked him, well Brandon, what do you do? And he said, well, I'm doing it now. You just can't see it. I love it. One of his other quotes that I really love is he says, it's so simple it's complicated. Yeah, it's like being a magician almost. Like when I take these walks with Goose or the streams with Grizz and Goose off leash, it doesn't look like I'm doing anything, but there's a lot going on. And there was a lot going on that led up to this, right? So whether people understand it or not is a separate issue. It's like I train martial arts, right? Mostly these days jujitsu. And when I first started jujitsu, I was like, the moves, the techniques, the flow of everything, it seems so complicated. And there was even times where I'm like, I don't know if I can learn. I'm like, this is like, it's its own puzzle. But the more you do it, and the more you sort of start to connect the dots, the more you see the picture and you can feel it, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And the picture becomes clear, and now you understand it. And then the more you repeat it, it becomes part of you. It's like second nature. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just do it. But to understand the mechanics of it is a different thing. The subtleties, the nuances, the detail, the little moving parts. One thing I love about jiu-jitsu is it's like a chess match between two people, but without the chess pieces. The pieces are it's like the different positions, the different limbs. It's a bit complicated. But say if I engage with a dog who is aggressive, to me that's also it's like a chess match. You really have to be focused in the moment. And if you miss a little detail or make a wrong move, that could be detrimental. So when you put multiple dogs together, you really have to understand what's going on. And if you're still not confident that you are able to do that, then I wouldn't recommend it. Especially if you're putting bullies together that still have issues. It's best to maybe work with them individually for a period of time. But it can be done. I even have there's one clip that I've used frequently on my channel too. I really love it. It's a great example where in my video, I've used it a few times, but the video that I'm thinking of is on my video where I'm discussing what I think resource guarding really is, and why I think the force free and the balance folks get it wrong. But there's a clip in there I show where there's 4 pit bulls. I mean, these are big dogs too. But there's this big, huge chunk of raw meat on the ground, and there are 3 dogs chomping away at it, and then Debo, who clearly you could tell Debo is the strongest dog. He struts over there and he communicates to all the other dogs like, fuck off, this is mine, I'm taking it. And you can see the pecking order in real time where the weakest dogs walk away first. They don't challenge Debo, right? You see the order of it, and then the second strongest dog kind of stands there and challenges Debo a little bit, but Debo asserts himself just a little bit more, and that dog that's challenging Debo is like, fuck it, I'm walking away. So it doesn't start a fight. There's a lot of communication happening there, but it doesn't escalate to the level of a serious altercation. It's just everybody understands, like, all right, Debo is, hey, Allie, yeah, I'm answering your question. Yes, correct. Yes, I'm talking about that, Allie. Appreciate you joining, man. I don't know how long you've been here, what you've heard, but I'm happy to go over it again since you're here. So you just let me know what you've heard, and I'll go over it again. In the meantime, though, there was another comment from Thank Me Later Sport where he was trying to say, well, Well, this is great on like on a farm, but the average dog owner, like your average, yeah, no problem, no problem, Ollie. Um, you're saying your average family doesn't want this from their dogs, and I was saying this has nothing to do with being on a farm. This is the nature of the animal, right? But people are so afraid, and they don't truly understand the animal. So these things never really reveal themselves. But how many people? I get called all the time for people who have issues with their dogs fighting. So these things happen whether you like it or not. But the people that your average owner just doesn't understand how it all works. And you're trying to say, well, a trainer would just train them all to behave. Well, not necessarily. Oh yeah. I actually really like his channel, OT. I've seen a bunch of his stuff. He's really good. But anyway, pretty boy. So Ali, what I was saying. I'll start over. So to answer what you were saying with the bully breeds, like Goose, for instance, she's a American bulldog. She's a bully. So the starting point is you have to understand the dog you're working with first. Right, Goose is a very balanced, stable dog. Her social skills are impeccable. And so when she disciplines a dog, she only goes to the level it needs to go, and then it's done. Just like what Mark's dog did. So if you have pit bulls that it kind of reaches the level where they're fighting, then those dogs aren't balanced enough where you could take one and say make that dog into a disciplinarian. And maybe you have to know the dog too. Not all dogs are suited for that role. But the thing is too is everything is operating under the authority of the human. So you want to spend time with that with a particular dog first. You want to make sure everything is structured correctly with that dog, or that dog never operates outside of your authority. And when you work with a dog who has issues like that enough, and you're able to smooth out the little details, and that dog understands where those lines are, like this is the line you can't cross, then you can baby step your way into potentially having that dog discipline other dogs. But again, and what I was saying earlier is if you I would highly recommend going to Brandon Foucher's channel, watching him, because he is a prime example of taking, the dogs that come to him are dangerous dogs that are deemed unsavable. There's a lot of bullies and pits that come to him. And so, and his facility, there's always groups of dogs with each other. But Brandon is so good at understanding which dogs are compatible, which dogs he should pair with each other, which groups of dogs work well with the other groups of dogs. And so if he brings in, say, a new dog that needs help, he already has a group of balanced dogs that will help him rehabilitate that new dog. So he's already done the work individually with each one of those dogs, paired them up, figured out who works best with each other. And then depending on the temperament, personality of that new dog, he'll figure out, okay, which dogs do I need to get this dog around? Who's going to best help this dog? So to answer your question, yeah, there may be two pit bulls that you just shouldn't put together. But one of those pit bulls may pair well with another, and things may go much better. That pit bull might be able to help another much better than, say, another dog. So you just have to be able to know how to navigate these things. But like I said, if you have dogs that are escalating to the level of fighting, then what it means is those dogs are operating outside of your authority. Those dogs are not. Those lines haven't been drawn by you clear enough, consistently enough, for those dogs to understand. And to your point where you said you just established the boundaries for the dog, I would do that. I would just keep doing that. You're the one to tell each one of those dogs, like, this is the line. We don't cross this line. Right? But I was talking about one of my favorite clips of Brandon Foucher was he had there was he has an older pit, and it was a clip of the older pit disciplining a younger pit. Now, the older pit, you know, he's rehabilitated that dog, so that older pit is the stronger of the two. He's probably one of the strongest dogs in the group. So this younger pit, he's a teenager, and you know what teenagers do. They like to test and push boundaries, and they just kind of act foolish, and they're all over the place, and they're little assholes, you know. Yeah, Brandon Fouché. It's Fouche. Brandon Fouché. Incredible work he does. He's one of my, besides Caesar, he's one of my main influences. Learned a lot from Brandon Fouché. But this clip, and if you guys want, I'll send you a bunch of videos. There's a handful of his videos that I've just watched over and over and over and over again because they're just so fascinating. You can learn so much by watching those videos. There's so many little details, so much to study. All these groups of dogs interacting with each other. It's fascinating. But anyway, this younger pit bull is just kind of being a little asshole, and so this older pit bull gets in his face, stares him down, and starts showing his teeth. And the younger pit bull is like, all right, I'm not gonna challenge this dog. So then it walks away, but then it kind of re-engages with the pit bull, and then the pit bull snaps at him. It doesn't make contact, but the pit bull snaps at him. And then the younger pit bull kind of runs away a little bit, but the older pit bull follows through and stays on the dog. And so he wants to make sure that younger dog gets the message. So once the younger dog gets that message, it's like, all right, we're done. So that's what it should look like when you have two previous dogs that have bitten people or bitten dogs or whatever. Brandon can get them to a point and put them together where that sort of thing can be done in a balanced way and it doesn't lead to a fight. But I was saying earlier too, Allie, it's like, oh no, okay, so you already know about Brandon Fouché, Allie. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, handling the 15 plus dogs, man, that's not easy. It's not easy to do it well. It's not easy to do it right. So you already know what I'm talking about. Now, what I was saying earlier before you showed up too, Ali, is there's always going to be risk, right? So I've heard Brandon talk about that too, where he says, like, every morning before he goes to work, he has this conversation with himself. It's like, be ready because today could be the day. You're dealing with Mother Nature here on its most, it's a very primal level. And so there's always the chance that things can get out of control. You just have to be ready for it, right? But also, Brandon just understands the nature of the animal he's working with. You could argue that, well, you could prevent it if you just like Think Me Later Sport was saying, you just keep all the dogs in a kennel and rotate them. It's like, well, yeah, you can do that, but what is that really accomplishing, right? You're just avoiding the problem. And if your goal is to create a more balanced dog, a better socialized dog, you're going to have to get them with other dogs, But that's why I never tell people, people watch his videos and think like, oh, I just got to get a bunch of dogs together. Hell no. No. That's how major problems happen. You don't just throw a bunch of random fucking dogs together and think, no. Doesn't work that way. Like, Brandon's very selective about the dogs he puts together, and he works with each dog individually first. It's not just this random, like, it don't work that way. Yeah, but my advice, Ali, is like, if I had two pit bulls that have, you believe or you've seen that it would escalate to a fight, then yeah, I would work with each one of those dogs individually and slowly bring them together. And I would be establishing boundaries each step of the way. And then I would be constructing interactions between the two in a very careful manner. And I'm reading the situation like a fucking hawk. Like I had a client, I'll give you a story. I had a client, they had 3 dogs. 2 of them were pits. No, I'm sorry. One was an English bulldog, the other one was a pit bull. And they had a death in the family, and they never had any problems before the death in the family. But what comes along with deaths in the family, especially when it's a major death, is things tend to get out of control a little bit. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of, and to the dog, all the dog understands is that the human's showing a lot of weakness, and so it tends to create problems. So the English bulldog and the pit bull were starting to fight over toys. Now they'd originally called me for their 3rd dog, but I think it was the 2nd or 3rd session I did with them. They wanted me to help them with these 2 dogs fighting. I didn't record this session, but what I did with those dogs, and you can see an example of this. One of my first series I ever put on the channel was working with 2 pit bulls that were fighting over toys and food. But the process is the same, where the first thing I did was I walked them both on the leash together, because that was something they hadn't done in a while because they were afraid of them fighting. So I walked them on a leash together first. And then we started in the backyard, where we brought all the toys they were fighting over in the backyard, threw them on the ground, and then I just began to claim that toy from both dogs. And then if we can determine who's instigating the fight, then I'll begin to, I'll throw a toy like at the dog who's or at the dog who's not instigating, so I can see if I can get a reaction out of the other dog, and then I will address that dog while the other dog has the object the instigator wants. And then I'll work through it that way, and then I'll do the same thing with food. And then so we gradually worked it inside the house to where we were sitting in the living room. We had leashes on both the dogs, which I would recommend. And then I was doing the same thing. I put the toy in the middle of the floor. I wanted to see if either one of them would advance towards it. And then whichever one did, I would just establish that boundary. I'd block them. I would claim the toy. And then I did that same thing where I'd give the toy to the one who's not instigating while the other one watches, and then just reaffirm that boundary if I needed to, until the dog who's instigating no longer gives a fuck. And then I would switch it, where I'd now give it to the instigator, see what the other dog does. And then I would bring those dogs closer and closer while they had something to see, and every step of the way I'm gauging their reaction. And then I can address it as it happens until I can get those dogs pretty close to each other while they're where there's food involved, toys or whatever, and then we don't have an issue. But the first little sign that either dog shows that there's the intent to move on to the other dog in an aggressive way, I'm going to address it. So that way each little detail I can address every step of the way. So you're kind of chipping away at this thing slowly until you can bring those 2 dogs together. But there'll be a period of time where it's like, okay, when you do this, I would keep leashes on both the dogs while you do this. But it's like you do this day after day after day after day, and you're addressing all these little details. Eventually reach a point where these dogs can coexist again, and they can share, and there's really not a problem. What do you think, girls? Should we keep moving? Let's go. You want to go this way? Yeah? You want to stay in the shade? That's how I handle it. But obviously, when you're in a daycare and you got 15 plus dogs, that can be tricky, And especially when you got that many dogs, I'm sure you've seen it before, Ali. Like it's like I said in the video, it's like a wildfire where maybe one dog triggers something off, and now the whole, you got 3, 4, 5 dogs fighting with each other. It just gets out of fucking hand. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't rest my laurels on, okay, it's a bully, therefore it can't be done. You know, it may be more difficult with the bully. You may need a higher level of discipline with the bully. You may need a higher level of structure with the bully, you know, but like I said, you just understand the mentality of the dog you have, because not all bullies are that way. You know, you have very submissive, mild-tempered bullies too. You know, so it just depends. But I would just be very careful that it doesn't ever escalate to a fight if I can prevent it, because then, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it's like you're kind of taking 3-4 steps back. So it's like now you got to regain that ground again. You know what I mean? What you think, Goose? Let's get out of this pavement. There's still some wet spots here. But I think that's all I have to say on that. I hope I answered your question, Ollie. But yeah, it's a process, man. It's just a process. It's a slow process, very detail-oriented process. You know, but on the other hand, it's like, okay, you're never going to get the dog who has the problem balanced out without other dogs. You know, it's just he needs to be part of it. Now, too, though, you know, it's like just to make things as safe as possible, you put a muzzle on the dog that is instigating, or maybe both dogs are biting each other. Then, okay, we muzzle both dogs, and it just makes the process a little easier. I remember, I'll tell you a story. It was one of my favorite sessions I've ever done. I was very proud of it. I wish I had recorded it. It was before I started recording my session. The review's on my Facebook and on my Thumbtack profile, but I was going to work with this couple, and they had a pit bull, and the pit bull had a serious bite record. It bitten kids. Came from like a seriously abusive home. And this couple had 3 kids, and it had bitten, I think, 2 of the kids. And so when I showed up, you know, they had the dog in a muzzle, but when I showed up, you know, the dog was immediately disagreeable to me being in the room. But I was only there for an hour and a half. And this was actually the session where I really figured out that, especially when you have a dog like that, if you funnel things through the owner correctly, it makes 1000% of the difference. But I was focused on addressing this dog. Every time it attempted to jump and lunge at me and bite me, you know, I would just address it, and he stopped. And he was food aggressive too, so we worked through the food issues. And then we worked through some exercises with the kids, and I gave instructions to the kids, you know, what they need to do, what not to do. By the end of that session, though, you know, Rocco wouldn't let me touch him. But at the very end of that session, after an hour and a half, there was one last thing we did, and then Rocco rolled on his back and let me rub his stomach, touch his head, whatever, and we were cool. I was like, damn, that was awesome. So we went from trying to kill me when I walked into the room to, you know, submitting, rolling on his back, let me pet him, and everything was good. He was supposed to stay with me back in June, but I think the family decided they weren't going to go out of town after all, because he didn't end up coming. All right, Goose, come on, let's go this way. Come on, this way. But yeah, it's a great little session. We got construction over here or something. No, actually, no. It's the asphalters, I think. Morning. Hold on 1 second, guys. Just wait a minute. Yeah. All right. Come on, girl. Let's go. Hey. Come on. We're gonna go this way, yeah. But I think that's everything I really wanted to say about it. Anyone's got any questions about anything? Appreciate everybody joining. I think I will do. I'm going to walk a couple of Great Danes this afternoon. I think I probably will do a live stream when I'm walking them too. I haven't shown many videos with the Danes, so I think I'm going to do a live stream while I'm walking them this afternoon. Yep, that's correct, OT. That sucks, Holly. Well, if you remember, man, or if you can, if you remember what you said. Well, you mean your phone did, or YouTube did? Kyle Schwab. No, I don't think I have heard of him, OT. Yeah, you're welcome, Holly. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I always do. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to, any other questions you got about it, feel free to ask. For sure. It's a good question too, because it's a tricky one. But I would say Goose is like a perfect example of a bully who can do the job correctly, consistently, correctly, efficiently, in a very stable, balanced, and fair way. She's small, but she's mighty. Aren't you, girl? No, I love Mastiffs. Yeah, you definitely, when you're dealing with serious issues like that, you got to stop it before it starts. That's something that I talk about a lot, is because it's something I see a lot of people miss. So when we're talking about an escalation, right? It always starts with the fixation. When you see a dog fixate or lock in on something, the physiology of the dog changes, right? It's like staring at that thing. It's locked in. It's fixating. The body language tends to get very tense. The ears perk up. And then if you don't address the dog there, say if the dog has the intent to do harm, and you don't address the dog at the level of that fixation, then it escalates to the growling, barking, lunging, moving forward towards the thing it's fixated on. But if you address it at the level of fixation, it never escalates. So you're preventing that whole sequence from happening. And you're also letting the dog know that I don't like it when you fixate on things like that. Don't do it. Because it's all about the mindset the dog is now adopted. The fixation is just the physical manifestation of where the state of mind of the dog is. Not to say the dog can't look or be interested in things, but there's a big difference between the dog being interested in something in the environment and fixating on it. The two don't look the same. No, that's good, Ali. That's good. That's great, man. When he stops it, do you feel he does it in a unfair or imbalanced manner? When he stops it, does it lead to a fight? Yep, exactly, OT. It's subtle, but the dogs will always do it. Now, sometimes though, this is usually typical, like if you have a dog that's near a person or near another dog, sometimes that dog won't look directly at another dog or person, but the physiology is the same. The dog gets very tense, maybe the lips curl, there's growling. You know what's about to happen. But it's the same thing. You want to address the dog right there before it escalates to a bite. Yeah, you were seeing it, OT. You were seeing it at the right moment. You were catching it at that right time. And a lot of times, yeah, just it goes right over. Like people don't see it, but that's the moment right there. I know this weather's nice, ain't it, Goose? It's not 1,000 degrees out here, so you're not panting your balls off. Well, you don't have no pant. You're not panting like crazy. Yeah, this is one of those things, OT, where people say, "Oh, it came out of nowhere." Well, it never comes out of nowhere. There's always a reason for it, right? Morning. Okay, I don't have one on me, but I'll gotcha. Yeah, it's the apartment people. I walk out here without a leash every day. Never seen it. Come on, girl. Let's go. I think she's just saying that because she's giving people a tour. Got to make the community safe, right? Safe from all the dangerous stuff. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. People always say, "Oh, it came out of nowhere." Came out of nowhere. It never comes out of nowhere. So if you have a dog where it appears random, my conclusion is that if that dog has too much control in the environment or in the dynamic of however many people or dogs are in a home, then that dog is making rules for everybody else and all the other dogs that you don't know about. And so if that other dog violates a rule, then the dog's going to assert itself. The only one who knows about those rules is that dog, because that dog is taking on the role of being the authority figure outside of the authority of the human. I got you, Ollie. Yeah, he may be deciding that dog is being too much, and it may be escalating. Yeah, it becomes a challenge if there's an escalation rather than one dog submitting to the other. So what I do in those situations, Ali, where I see that, is I just step in. Yeah, Goose doesn't like the kids. Like if I anticipate, okay, your dog typically goes after this dog in these situations, then I'm going to keep an eye on that dog, and my focus will shift from that dog and your dog, that dog and your dog, and I'm going to gauge the reactions. And the moment I see the other dog who's maybe being too much, get too much, then I would step in first to let that other dog know it needs to chill out a minute. And if your dog is already kind of in pursuit, I would also stop your dog right there just to let them know, like, I got it under control. But what you can also do, like if your dog steps in and addresses that dog and it looks good at first, you can, if you're confident with it, you can wait for that to happen and then step in before it escalates. So that way your dog understands, all right, you did your job. That's the level we need to get it to, and that's it. I got it from here. So you just step in at the right moments. Right, and that's exactly what I'm saying, OT. The dog is nipping your mom because the dog is in the position where it believes it needs to discipline everybody, including your mom. So the dog doesn't see your mom as an authority figure. The dog is exerting itself over your mom. The dog is disciplining your mom. That's what I mean. Need a minute, Goose. And this is where dominance comes into play, right? Because now the dog is exerting dominance over the human rather than the human exerting dominance over the dog. But it's usually in those cases, what I typically see is people who are in those situations, they have dogs where they lead with love and affection. There's there may be some rules, but not enough, and maybe not there's not enough boundaries in place. The dog has too many privileges without having earned them. There's not enough structure. There's usually some ingredients missing, that leads the dog to believe it has more power than it should. But appreciate everybody joining. Got some good questions today. Some good conversation. Some good chat. I love when you guys show up and chat. What do you think, Goose? Man, I don't know what happened to this lake. This lake used to be so much cleaner. It's like after COVID, all the COVID bullshit, this lake just kind of went to shit, All right, hold on. I'll pick you up again. I don't want you crossing the... Here, wait. Come here. Oh, Goose. Oh. Okay. Let's go, girl. Kids are still out doing the thing. There we go. Back in focus. Appreciate everybody joining. If anybody has any questions or anything, let me know. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Glad to have you. Pretty much already discussed the topic, so if you're new, you just go back to the beginning. What do you mean redirect, Ali? Are you addressing it, or are you simply just trying to get them to do something else? What I would do, like if I see play starting to escalate a little bit, I wouldn't redirect the dog. I would break up the play for a little bit. The moment it starts to get a little too out of control. So usually I'll grab the collar of the dog that's escalating things, remove them. And if the other dog tries to re-engage, I'll just kind of push them away, create some space. So you're breaking it up, you're de-escalating things, and then you put space between those dogs, and when they've chilled out a little bit, then you can put them back together. Then, of course, if your dog engages on top of that, you can address him too. But I wouldn't solely just redirect, because then the dog never understands, okay, this is the line, I don't want you to, like, if you take it this far, I don't want that. You're, yeah, that's what I mean, OT. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about, OT. This is what I mean when I say people don't understand the animal. They allow everything. It's always love and affection. Any form of discipline is seen as you're a dog abuser, you're bad. But then they wonder why the dog's biting them. You know what I mean? It's no mystery. I've seen it so many times. That's why I would say never lead with love and affection. It's just not. It's this. We're dealing with a predatory animal. It's just not how things. It's not how Mother Nature works. You know. You know, the subordinate dogs, you can get away with that shit. But usually those dogs are even stressed the fuck out because they're not getting what they need. You know. So you can take a weaker-minded dog and make him stressed, anxious, and whatever. Or you could take a stronger-minded dog and now that dog's running the house. And it can lead to the owner get bit sometimes, you know. Come on, girl, let's go. Let us go. Oh, we got a street cleaner. Let's wait for the street cleaner, girlfriend. Oh, it's all good, Ollie. So what I was saying was, are you? What do you mean by redirect? Like, are you just trying to redirect the dog? Because like what I would do, I hope you can hear me still. What I do in those situations where I see, you know, like play is escalating or one dog is getting a little too rough, rather than trying to just redirect the dog, I'm gonna step in. Maybe I'll grab the collar of the dog that's escalating things, and then I will separate them. I'll create some space where I'm letting the dogs know, like, all right, that's too much. Break it up. And then if the other dog tries to re-engage, then you kind of push them away, create some space, let them chill out for a minute, and then you can bring them back together. And then every time it escalates that level, you could step in. So then they begin to understand, like, okay, this is the line I don't want you two to cross. Like, don't take it here. And then if your dog is trying to intervene on top of that, you can let him know, like, hey, I got it, it's good, you know. All right, let's cross the road now. Just let me know if you got all that, though, Ollie. But that's OT. What OT is saying. That's the nature of when you're too permissive, and it's no different. Like if you have a kid, if you're way too lenient and permissive with the kid, what ends up? I'll tell you a story. I went to a client's home, and it was a mother and her daughter, and this golden doodle, and she was telling me, one of the issues is my daughter is bullying this dog. But when I got there and I started to see these things play out, it became very obvious to me. That the daughter had all the control, all the power, because her daughter was like bullying the mom. And there was one moment where the daughter was like back talking the mom, and she had an iPad in her hand, and her mom said, "No, you're done. Like, give me the iPad. You're gonna talk to me that way. Give me the iPad." Well, she goes to take the iPad, and the kid freaks out, and she just lets the kid have the iPad. It's like, well, here's the problem. You're not firm enough with your kid. Your kid knows it can just walk all over you. So it is no fucking different with a dog, right? I mean, the social nature of a dog is the same. But I just couldn't believe it, and I didn't say anything. I'm thinking like, why are you letting your kid like bully you around like this? And then the kid was bullying the dog. It's like, well, yeah, the kid is entitled. The child does not see you as a strong figure of authority, right? It took a lot for me in the instructions I gave her to not like. I remember I touched on it a little bit, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. It's like, is it my place to really point that out? Yeah, I don't know. That's how it goes sometimes, though. Or to the point with the bullies, if you have a stronger-minded kid, they just the needs are a little different. They're the same, but you need a different level of them. Like, I was a total asshole when I was a kid, but it's like when my dad stepped in, I just shut the fuck up and listened. Because, what I mean? I was usually being disrespectful to my mom, but when my dad showed up, I was like, all right, never mind. I'm done. You know what I mean? Anyway, appreciate everybody showing up. Ollie, I'm just gonna wait to confirm that you got all that before I end the stream. Just want to make sure you heard what I said. So, when I get confirmation of that, I'll let you guys go and feed Goose, and I got a few things I need to get done. But as I said, this afternoon I'm gonna go walk a couple of Great Danes. I'll do another stream, another live stream when I'm doing that. I haven't showed the Great Danes too much on this channel, so I'll do a live stream when I'm walking them this afternoon. Awesome, cool. Really appreciate you joining, Ali. I'm glad you caught it. Because I wanted to be able to answer that question or discuss that a little bit. It's a good topic. If you think of anything else, man, just leave a comment. I'm always trying to think of new ideas to discuss during streams, so it goes for anybody. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. I'll do a stream on it. Hey, you're welcome, OT. Appreciate it, guys. You're welcome, Ollie. Anyway, I'll be back this afternoon walking some Great Danes. We'll do a live then, but until then, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you later. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you watching. Of course, as I'm about to end the stream, we get 6 more people in there. Anyway, everybody's just joining, about to end, but appreciate you joining. I'm going to do a live stream this afternoon. I'm going to walk a couple of Great Danes, and I'll do another stream with them. So, hope to catch you all later. Appreciate everybody joining. Appreciate everybody watching. I'll post the stream once I'm done here. Everybody have a great day.